And I think it would have come off a little bit cheap, if I'm honest, if they'd have tried to attempt that.
Well, less is more.
Yeah.
Less is more. And it was. Look, I can't say anymore. I personally felt it was perfect.
Yeah.
What they did was perfect. If they would have ruined it with green seas. Do you remember when a couple of years ago they did Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton?
Yeah, I hated that.
There you go. Because they went for too much.
Yeah.
Holograms. Why? You don't need to. Yeah, you don't need to do that.
Yeah.
And we'll get onto the main event later, which was obviously different and filmed differently. But I'm sure we'll get onto that later. But less is more is all I'm saying.
Yeah, fair enough. So we get the a nice opening here. First and foremost, we have Stephanie McMahon that introduces the event, and they kind of touch on the fact that this is going to be different, which was cool because really WWE, they haven't sort of come out on TV too much and addressed the actual situation itself. I think they've been careful to sort of come around it. I still don't think they've mentioned coronavirus or COVID-19 or anything like that. But obviously they've acknowledged that we're living in difficult times and they're going to do the best they can to bring the show. We get a very unique America the Beautiful, which of course is taken from all variations of the song over all the years of WrestleMania spanning, of course, which I thought was quite cool. I mean, it's probably a good way of doing it if you were going to, have a throwback to some old stuff. Then we get, of course, now I've got to say, if there was one thing that I did get a lot of reaction for negatively was the whole, and I don't know where you stand on this because it might be one of those things where you love him or you hate him, but Gronk was there himself. Rob Gonski was there with Mojo. Now, these two are down as the hosts. A lot of people said it was a little bit over the top for their liking. Some people were loving this stuff. Where did you sit with this, and how well do you think they pulled it off, sort of their role during the night, as it may?
Yeah, I think the audience was certainly going to be divided by this. I think the English fans, not so much.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not huge on American football.
No.
But I have a basic knowledge of who Gronk is and how big of a star he is. So I can appreciate WWE bringing him in for obviously being a guest host. For me, I felt it was a bit too forced. I thought it was a bit too over the top. I'm not a huge fan of Mojo Rawley either, but I just had to look past it and think, fine, we've had hosts in the past. Yeah. Hogan's done things in the past. The Rock's done it in the past. Gronk's now done it. Just, I found a way of sort of blocking it out. I wasn't going to slag it off at all, but I think the Americans appreciated it more than the English fans.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. It was a bit hard for me to relate to it as well. I've got to be honest, I'm surprised that WWE announced that he was going to do that role. Not because I don't think he can do it, but for WrestleMania, I thought, given what the situation is, what they could do with is probably getting somebody like a huge, like a bigger name that they can probably just video feed it to. And just get their reactions during the night, like sitting at home watching it or whatever. And that might have played a little bit better. I mean, I think half the reason they had these two is because they're quite energetic. They give a lot of energy to everything. And, of course, they were going to be standing out there. So you get to see them watching the matches. And I think it was like, when AEW tried this on one of their shows where they had, like, wrestlers just standing around. I think they sort of tried to copy a little bit of that. Give some energy. It's almost like I think casting wise they could have probably done with a New Day in this WrestleMania rather than the other one they did, because this probably for New Day would have been perfect for them to sort of host this one given the setup and scenario they had here. But nonetheless, I think you're right. I think if you can look past it, it wasn't so bad. But I understand why maybe some fans didn't sort of relate to it as best as others. So worth pointing out, we had Cole and JBL out there for the SmackDown commentary for this one. And we kicked things off with the WWE Women's Tag Team match, which I've got to say, I was actually like, this first and foremost, this is like the first ones to go out. There's a lot of the pacing to this. You're sort of half worried. What did you make about having this tag team match like kick off the show? Obviously, we've always heard lots of good things from everybody about Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, but having the match go out first, what was your take on that? Because obviously, first impressions are quite a big thing here.
I mean, when I heard Bliss's music, I was a bit shocked.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us were thinking maybe a ladder match, okay, or maybe Zayn Bryan to open the show, perhaps. I was shocked. Or I think they even said on the kickoff show, up next, Rollins Owens.
Right.
I think they were sort of
they
teaching it as if that was coming on, but obviously I know match order was all edited in, etc.
Yeah.
But Bliss's music hit. I was surprised, but these are 4 fantastic workers. Now, Alexa Bliss is one of the best workers. I'm maybe a bit biased, but she's a great worker, as is Nikki, Oscar, and Kyrie. They put on a 15-minute women's tag team clinic, right? Which to me will probably be remembered as one of the best women's tag team championship matches they've had over the course of the last 13 months that the titles have been in circulation. I really enjoyed this, really enjoyed it. And I was really happy with the outcome. There's a lot of rumours going around about Kyrie Sane. Is she staying? Is she going? I don't quite know any truth in all of those dirt sheet reports. But certainly, I mean, the energy that Cross and Bliss bring, I mean, for me, I think it is only a matter of time until a heel turn, perhaps in the summer, August time. But for now, this was a really good match, and I was really pleased with the outcome. And it was a really good way to open a wrestling show. You know, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where, like I said earlier, the sole focus is actually now allowing us to focus on to wrestling, because there's no big lights, big cameras, huge crowd to captivate you. This was wrestling based, and this was very good. Whoever made the decision to put this as the opener for night one, or to open the whole WrestleMania weekend, they got it bang on.
Yeah, no, totally agree there. And of course, I mean, I was mainly impressed. I thought Nikki's performance really stood out in amongst like absolute quality of like 4 wrestlers there. I thought she really stood out, and it was quite something there. And of course, Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss end up defeating and become new champions. Like Josh said, 15 minutes, pretty decent time, I've got to say, for a tag match, especially in the women's division. So that was good. If there's one benefit to having 2 nights, it's the fact that maybe there isn't so much of a rush to get through all these matches because you're always working against the clock. So I thought that at least they got a decent set time, told a good story. We get Sammy who promos on his match with Daniel Bryan. And, he's just talking about how he's going to leave as the Intercontinental Champion. And the next match we have up, and I've got to say, going into this one, even going into it, I wasn't really expecting too much or high hopes. So it was going to either surprise me or I wasn't going to be surprised. But I certainly wasn't hugely disappointed because I didn't have that huge expectations. But Elias versus King Corbin. First and foremost, I must say the disappointment for me is having these 2 face off against each other, because I feel like they're in the same boat. And coming off of last year's WrestleMania, of course, Elias, he done the what did he do? I can't remember what it was now. He done the was he out there with
did Cena come as
that's
Dr.
right.
Ergonomics?
Yes, that's it. So you thought like, and he's done things like that before in the past. And he had King Corbin, of course, who retired Kurt Angle last year. And it almost seemed like you were putting these 2 guys together. But unfortunately, it wasn't really going to do much for either one of them. And I do think Corbin, has legitimate heat. He's good at that. But, of course, you haven't got fans there. So that part of it is taken away. And you've got the sort of bare bones of a match. But, it's not to say they both didn't put in, effort, because they did. But I think it was kind of one of those things where, it sort of already started in a way that was going to be hard to come out the other side thinking too much positives. Obviously, we had King Corbin go over after just about 9 minutes via pin. What was this match for you, Josh? Like, because I know off air we spoke a little bit about this as being one of those ones that maybe wasn't going to do enough, but WrestleMania quality, or was this just sort of adding in there for the numbers a little bit?
Well, firstly, let me please, just correct you there. Elias went over.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Sorry. I do
apologise.
Right.
It's been a long night. It's been a long night
of
energy drinks and that. But Elias went over.
I'm glad you did that. I'd have got a lot of heat there.
It would have been. Let's save the show.
Yeah.
Basically, I mean, yeah, there was no massive build for this. Okay. I love both of these guys. I've been a fan of Elias. I met Elias before. I've always loved Baron Corbin. I think he's very, very talented. Mm-hmm. King Corbin is a character I'm really invested in. I'm even considering getting the King Corbin tee off Euroshop.
Wow.
Yes, I am a fan of King Corbin. Let's just say one thing. I am so glad Elias did turn up for the match and Gronk didn't get to have his in-ring debut. I genuinely felt the way they were selling, obviously, Elias's fall from SmackDown on 2 weeks ago. I mean, who gets up from that? Within 2 weeks, you're not wrestling. But then again, kayfabe. I mean, I am grateful that Elias did come out in the end. It didn't feel WrestleMania-esque, having Corbin say "raise my arm" and all of that goes with it. That's not WrestleMania style. Elias obviously come out, hit Corbin with a guitar. I felt as well throughout the match, if you were to go back and look at it, you might notice the same. I did feel that they used the LED ring post 3 or 4 times for the shoulder abuse. It just felt it was a bit overused. I thought 9 minutes was probably 3-4 minutes too long for this match. But like you said, Elias going over, where does it put him? I mean, Elias faced Seth Rollins 2 years ago for the IC title. That would have been the time to put a title on him now. I think that chance may have gone for him. King Corbin, on the other hand, I think he needs a championship reign at some point this year, mid-card, or to be considered to face Strowman, perhaps, for the Universal. I think he needs an opportunity to show what he can do in a big feud again. He was great against Reigns, I will say that. But yeah, having this spot on the card was odd. The match was okay. Elias winning was okay. Where does it leave them both? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think this is one of those ones. Like, I know that there's a lot of talk that WWE are going to be finishing up for a little while, but this is one of those feuds that I think may go on a little bit longer when they return. Just the way they sort of ended that. But yeah, no, I'm with you there. A little bit, not the greatest outing, I don't think, for these two to showcase their real abilities. But we'll see what happens going forward. Then we get Becky arriving in the big rig thing at the moment that she's been doing. It's a good little shot there, and that leads us to, again, this is something I got like a lot of. Like, this actually was coming in live when this was happening. People were really shocked about where this match was positioned on the card slightly when we heard the Raw's women's title match between Shayna Baszler and the man Becky Lynch was going to take place at this point on the card. Again, like Josh alluded to earlier, this whole WrestleMania has been deeply edited to the point where I think commentators would have been told, don't mention anything about previous matches or matches that are coming up. Just talk about the ones you're doing so that we can put them in some sort of order nearer to the date. And I think that maybe WWE felt, watching this back, that this is the right position to put it in, because it's difficult here, Josh, because for me, I like both these, but I feel like the steam in this feud is a little bit, it's just lacking something. Obviously minus the fans, but I think just in terms of the story, it's just missing something to get me that excited. So to be honest, I wasn't completely shocked that this is where it was placed on the card. But a lot of people seem to think that it was a big thing. But where do you stand with it? And what did you think about the match that we